Hey, what's up everybody? 3D Theory here. It is August 3rd, 2024 at 7 a.m. and this is vlog number 23. Someone commented that they don't like to see my morning routine with the coffee all the time. And although it's part of my routine and I love it and I'm going to keep it going because of that reason, and I enjoy showing it to you guys. This morning I was out of coffee. And I also needed something to boost my morning, and I had some green tea. That's a Chinese variety of green tea. It's a very young tea leaf if you guys are into green tea. There's a whole green tea culture out there, and although I'm not a connoisseur of green tea, I did kind of dive into that world of green tea for a little bit. And so this is a variety of green tea that I've been drinking for about 8 years, and I showed you the bag. So if you guys enjoy it, the company I get it from is in Texas. It's called 7 Cups, and yeah, really enjoy their tea. Very nice. Hey, what's up everybody? I'm coming at you from the future. By the way, this is what we're modeling today. I just wanted to make a quick announcement. For those of you who joined the Facebook page and group, Facebook disabled my account for good. I really have no clue why. They're saying you can't use 3D Theory as your name. So no more Facebook account. That lasted for about 2 or 3 days. It was brand new. So maybe in the future we'll have a Facebook account, but for now I'm kind of through with that. But nonetheless, let's get back to the vlog and see this thing print out. As you can tell, we got all of our plates loaded, or maybe I can say our base is loaded. But we're going to do something a little different today. So we're going to have to create a 3D model and 3D print a holder for this Chicago Electric rotary tool that you can get real cheap at Harbor Freight, so that I can attach it to this monitor stand, which comes with the clamp to clamp down at the table's edge, because I need to be able to hold a piece of steel and elongate one of the screw holes that were drilled into it by the manufacturer, who sent us hundreds of parts for our product that is literally like 3 millimeters below where the screw hole meets the hole where the steel is. So it doesn't line up, in other words. So I got to elongate that hole just a tad bit, and I already gave it a test try and it worked. But I don't want to sit there freehanding a rotary tool all the time, because I want to make it perfect and straight. So that's my solution. And first things first is I want to take a picture of that shape, that elongated circular shape. It's unique to this tool. And once I take that picture, we're going to hop in Maya and get this thing modeled out. Here is the one picture here. As you can see, it's kind of like an oval shape. And I take it down here near my feet and zoomed in because I'm trying to get it as close to 70 millimeters in the zoom, because that's closer to orthographic and you won't get any sort of distortion or warping from perspective. And here's the second image here. I noticed that this tapers ever so slightly by 1 millimeter. So from here to here, it's 1 millimeter thicker than from here to here. I'm not going to go past these cylinders here because there are some vents and I don't want to cover those vents. And I really don't feel like having some sort of bar up to here is going to really change much. So I'm going to just create the holder from this point on to this point on, and that should be enough for the grip. All right, guys, once again, my apologies for the super clean work area, but I'm going to use my calipers to get the measurements of this here and also this here. So I'm going to have all those measured out already. I just wanted to show you that I use calipers to get those measurements. All right, guys, so we're here in Maya, and I went ahead and I got all the measurements I need. So the diameter of the monitor stand is 35.25 millimeters. So I'm going to go ahead and make that right now. I just want to make sure I'm in the units of millimeters. So there you have it. I'm going to go pretty quick this time. I'm not going to sit here and explain every tool, but I will try to kind of guide you guys through as I model along. So, as said before, we got 35.25 millimeters, and to get into real world scale, you need to multiply everything you create by 10 initially. And so from here, I'm going to do the 35.25 millimeters, and that's accurate right there. I'm going to turn on anti-aliasing and also ambient occlusion, so I get a better looking piece of geometry in my viewport. All right, from here I'm going to go to the top view. I'm going to make a cylinder because that's what we need. That's what the pole is. I'm going to make this real smooth. Okay. I'm going to bring that up to about where it needs to be, where it looks like I might just scale this to 5. And that looks about perfect, honestly. So now we have an idea, the size of that pole, and I'm just going to throw that in a layer here. I don't need that for modeling, I just needed that for reference. So now we're going to go ahead and create the rotary tool. And so those images that I showed you in the beginning, I'm going to now import them. I'm going to import it in the top here. So I'm going to go to View, Image Plane, Import Image. All right, so now that I know that the rotary tool is 50 millimeters wide, going from here to here, and 52.6 from here to here and on up. So I'm going to go ahead and get my measuring cube, which I can just create a new one, honestly. Let's grab a new measuring cube. It's 50 millimeters wide, so I'm going to go ahead and do 50 millimeters. It disappeared because the image is inside, so I'm going to go ahead and bring the image out and above because the camera is up there. And also I need to make my image see-through a little bit. There you go. Now that box here that you see is the 50 millimeter width. So I'm going to go ahead and begin scaling that up to match that width. And we're going from left to right, so that's what I'm looking out for right now, is to match that left to right width. And I just want to get as precise as possible. So I'm going to scale that up just a tad bit more. All right, I think we're good there. Let's go a little bit more. I actually want to rotate this just a tad bit. Now the rotation is a little bit too fast, so I'm going to scale up the tool, and that'll slow the rotation down a little bit. There you go. Yep, there's still a little bit of a gap there. That is kind of passing the line, so let me just scoot this over. There you have it. And there you have it. Yeah, that's good. All right, I'm going to grab the image plane and put that into a layer. And I'm going to go ahead and create a cylinder, because I'd say it's pretty close to being a cylinder. And I'm going to match the width here, but I do want to bring down this image plane a little bit, because I do trust the primitives that I'm creating, because they're at origin. The image plane would not be at origin. And I can see this is not fully centered, but we can work with it. And when I say fully centered, I mean the center line of the rotary tool, it's kind of just rotated to the left ever so slightly, because here's the center, real center line, so it's just off by ever so much. So I'm going to keep that in mind as I model. So I'm going to bring that out to just about there. I do want to make this very smooth, and I'm going to elongate it just ever so slightly. To match that look that this rotary tool has. Okay, so I know that from here to here, it's going to be 52.6. So with that in mind, I'm going to grab 52.6 and put it here. Make sure my geometry is lined up with that. That is pretty darn close. It's out just a tad bit, so I'm going to bring it back in. And to get just really small little tweaks like that, again, I got to increase the size of my tool. And I'm just going to grab the cylinder and bring it in just a tad bit. And I think that is perfect. Okay. All right, so now that we have this shape, we can go over to the side. And I'm going to hide my measuring cube for a second in a layer. And that's what we created. This is, let me hide the image plane from perspective. So that elongated cylinder is how the rotary tool looks. And we're going to go over here to the side view now. And we're going to import our other image. Okay. And likewise, I'm going to bring this image out so that it's in front on my side view. And obviously I want to rotate it so it's facing the right direction. Very nice. I'm going to go ahead and make this a little bit transparent. Grab my image plane, raise it up. I need to make it a lot more transparent, honestly. Let's see if I can mess with this and if it will help me out. Okay. I'm going to have to rotate this to make it fit right, so it's straight. We're getting there. And to get your images as accurate as possible, this is probably one of the most important parts here. I'm actually going to bring back some of that image, bring this back down, or there you go, because I was having a little hard time seeing it, and I just made the object transparent as well. All right, there you have it. So yeah, 52.6 is from here, and it gets thicker up front, so it's 53.6 there. So I'm going to make sure that back here it's at 52.6, and that's looking pretty good. And then it kind of increases in size on this side. And I'm just going to bring that out ever so slightly. I could also double check with my measuring cube. I'm going to bring that back. So I had this at 52.6. Now I'm going to check 53.6. 53.6. And how does that cylinder look in comparison? Let me turn off the grid. I'm actually going to go ahead and hide this image plane as well. I'm going to call this IP2 for image plane 2. All right, so it looks like we can bring it back down just a tad bit. Let me double check. Yep, it's just ever so slightly, but I want to make this as precise as possible. I'm increasing the size of my scaling tool. This yellow line here, that's going across from left to right. All right, that's looking good. And I only scaled from left to right, which is the x-axis or the z-axis. We have what is the makings of the grip that's going to be holding the rotary tool. And last but not least, we want to make it 55 millimeters high. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this cube and make it 55 millimeters. And as a matter of fact, we just need it in height, so I'm just going to arbitrarily put this at 10. So I'm going to grab these and magnetize it by holding V for the vertice. All right, so that's pretty much the shape of that center part. And I'm going to bring back image plane 2. And so it's going to be about, let me grab the image plane and bring it down a little bit, because I'm not going to go past those cylinders. And it's going to be about there. Okay. And I'm thinking that's probably going to be enough to keep that secure. I can go past it here, but I'm afraid it's going to cover that air hole, and you know, I could always just open it up and maybe just have a bar going across, but then I'll have to also open up where the cylinders are at, and I feel like it's really not going to provide too much support. So I'm going to also hide these cameras here. There you go. So this is the fun part. Remember to always save, by the way. All right, so I'm going to bring back that pole now. It seems like I miscalculated the size of that pole. So I'm going to go ahead and create another measuring cube really quick, multiply that by 10. And the size, the diameter actually, of the monitor stand pole was 35.25. So I'm going to go with 35.25. And let's grab this here cylinder, and I'm going to bring this back down to 5 and scale that up so that it matches. And I'm going to go ahead and work it in the channel box here. So it's 174.981. So I'm just going to do 175, 176, 176.1, 176.3, and what about 176.22, 25. See how that's looking? It was perfect right on top. Okay, so I'm going to delete that measuring cube, don't need it. And I'm going to bring this around. So I need it to attach to the pole about here, but I need some length, some distance away from the pole. So I know I want it to be about a finger apart from each other, so about 16 millimeters, I would say. Grab my measuring cube, put 16 millimeters there. I'm going to go to the center of this and create a center line. Likewise, I'm going to grab this cube and create a center line. That is pretty much at its center. So there you have it. I think we're good there. So this is how I'm planning on making it look for the most part. We don't need this top and bottom part. So I selected a vert. I'm going to go to the faces and just delete that. And likewise, we don't need the top and bottom for that as well. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same. So this is going to be the inner diameter of our objects. Now with that in mind, I'm going to create a thickness of these walls at 8 millimeters, so it's nice and sturdy. I'm going to grab my measuring cube again. I'm going to go 8 millimeters. I'm going to go to the outside here, and I'm going to extrude this. I'm just going to increase the thickness here to the 8 millimeter mark. Very nice. And likewise, I'm going to do the same for this. And I'm just double checking with this measuring cube because I noticed that when I extruded, I was able to just click 8 and it gave me the exact measurement I needed. All right, so we're kind of crossing over there a little bit, so I'm going to bring it out. So we're getting closer to a final result. I realize here that the center line of this is off just a bit, so I'm going to go ahead and fix that. There you go. Now I'll probably want to bring this past, so I have a little bit more grip on the pole. Maybe I'll bring it about that high, just eyeballing it from here. And honestly, to be a little bit on the safe side, I'm going to bring it out just a little bit, so I know where to highlight the areas I want to extrude. I'm going to bring a cube here, and I know that this is the center line, so I want there to be a joining point from the pole holder to the grip for the rotary tool to about there. So with that in mind, I'm going to select and grab my faces here, That's looking good. However, I only want it joining up to the top of the holder. So I'm gonna go ahead and get my multi-cut tool, plant a edge loop there and another one here. Okay. And I kind of want to bring them just ever so slightly down. I don't want it to be absolutely perfect there. There you go. And then I'm going to grab those faces again. But I needed these down here. There you go. So all I want to do here now is to just have these models intersect. And I'm going to go ahead and go to vertice mode because I feel like I'll have an easier time managing whatever part isn't intersected yet. So I'm going to deselect those, bring this out, deselect those, bring this out. And it doesn't really matter how much they intersect. It's just once they're intersected, they're intersected. I'm going to Boolean them. As a matter of fact, I could just bring it out like that. And like that. Okay. So I know it looks kind of dirty, but we're going to clean it up here. I'm going to delete that cube. We don't need that anymore. So this is getting closer to what we need. And lastly, I need to create two sections. An area where I can kind of bend it open and put the tool in there, and also bend this side open and put the pole through. So I'm going to go up top here to make sure I got my center. I'm going to go ahead and, yep, there you have it. That's my center one. And actually, I'm going to bevel it so I have a nice little gap there. And we don't need it to be that large of a hole. So I'm just going to make it about that big. 0.2 millimeters. 0.2 millimeters looks good. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that. Likewise, I'm going to grab this line and bevel it. Again, I'm going to do 0.2 and go ahead and delete that. So now we have entry points where we can bend it open and fit the tool through. I'm going to go ahead and bridge this opened area. Bridge that. And bridge that closed. Let's see if I can do this at once. Let's bridge it. Yep, that worked. By the way, the letter G repeats your last function. So that's what I did there. I just clicked G. Grab these, deselect the tops, and let's bridge them. Did it work? No. I wonder why. I don't know why that didn't work. Oh, I know why it didn't work. So these two edges are not on the inside, so it doesn't know to do it cleanly. With that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and create one there, and line them up. So that line is there. I'm going to line it up with that edge. This edge is in here. So I'm going to line it up with that edge. And we'll just bridge one at a time. Bridge. Very nice. Bridge. Very nice. Okay, yeah, those are shut. That's shut. I'm just clicking 3 here. It's doing a subdivision preview. It's kind of bending it in a way where I can see it better. All right, so that's looking good. Okay, from here, I'm going to want to create some screw ports. I'm going to just make it kind of the same thickness as here. So I'll just grab 4. I'm going to extrude that out. And as you saw with those machine screws, I'm going to grab one now. And actually, I want to know what the length of this is. And so I'm going to go here in my top view, do create, measuring tool, distance tool. created a distance there. There it is. All right, so we have 125 millimeters, but that's really not the case. We just have to multiply or divide by 10. So we got 125.5 millimeters divided by 10. It's 12.55 millimeters. Let me see if I have a screw that is that long. I have one that's 20. So we'll go ahead with the 20 millimeter one. The screw will probably stick out a little bit, but that's all right. All right, since we're using a nut and bolt, I need to find out how big the nut is so I can make sure that I accommodate it. So it's 9.35 millimeters. I'm gonna grab my measuring cube, do 9.35 millimeters. And I'm gonna go over to my side view, vertex snap it to the point I need. There you have it. And I'm going to go ahead and grab these faces out again. I'm going to scale only the front faces. So let me grab those and flatten them out. And I'll show you over here what that did. That just flattened these out like that. And I'm going to bring this out. But I don't want it to be exact, so I'm going to give it a little bit of an extra distance so that this is sitting in the center. And let's actually be precise here. Since it's 9.35 for the screw hole, I want to give it, say, 4 millimeters on either side. I'm actually going to go back for a second. There you have it. And now I could kind of find the center here of this object. I'm going to straighten that out and bring it to the center over here. Now I feel comfortable grabbing this and duplicating it, grabbing the original because I can still mess with its measurements, and now I can give this that extra gap that it needs. Grab that like that and bring this here. So we're going to need to extend this towards the end of this measuring cube. There you have it. So now this cube here is the size of the nut. You can kind of go ahead and create a space for it. I think I'll probably create, so I'll go ahead and create 3 screw holes. I don't need this center line here, so I'm going to go ahead and delete that. And how I intend on creating 3 equidistant screw holes is going over to the Insert Edge Loop tool. After selecting Use Equal Multiplier, we're going to click 2. And now we have 3 sections to add the screw. And I just want to make sure that this is centered in this direction. Okay? Because I know it's centered from the left and the right. And I'm going to create a center line here. And I'm just going to go ahead and duplicate. There you have it. So those are the places where I'm going to add the 3 holes for the nut to sit in. So I'm going to grab a cylinder, make sure it's centered over here, rotate that 90 degrees, and create 6 subdivisions there. I went ahead and measured it from top to bottom in this direction. So I'm going to actually use that orientation, and I need to find the center of this cube again in this direction so that I know that the screw is sitting in the center. All right, there you have it. And let's just make sure this is accurate. So we got 54 is perfect. Okay, and I want to make it just slightly bigger to increase its tolerance. So let's do 55. So it has some extra wiggle room in there to sit. And I'm going to go ahead and do the same for this one. But again, I got to find the center point for this. Likewise for this one. And for this one. I'm going to go ahead and keep these cubes so I can do it for the other side as well. So I'm going to go ahead and grab these templates, bring it over to one side. So the thickness of these nuts are 3.85. I'm going to grab a measuring cube so they can sit in. 3.85. Because I want it to sit in a little deeper, I'll just go straight up to 4. I'm going to bring that up front. And that's how deep we need to make these templates sit in. And I think we're ready for a Boolean function, but again, I want to save these here for the other side as well. But I'm not going to do the Booleans just yet because I also want to bevel this. I don't want these to be so sharp. So we're ready to do all of our functions here, but we need to get the other side done as well. And so we're just going to go ahead and do the same exact thing. All right, so we have the makings of a rotary tool to be held on a monitor stand bar. But there's still one more thing we need to do. We need to create a hole for the screw to go through. So the diameter of the screw cap is 8.88 millimeters. As a matter of fact, it's closer to 9 millimeters. So we'll just do a 9.5 millimeter hole for those screws, or even 10. Give it an extra millimeter to sit in. And we want it to be able to sit in about 4 millimeters like the other side. So first things first. Let's get this cube, which is the diameter of the screw cap, onto each one of these. Now I'm going to grab a cylinder and match it to that. So I'm going to grab the cylinder and all of my templates here, and I'm going to just isolate those because that's all I need for now. Rotate it 90 degrees, and I want to work with a 100 to make sure it's nice and smooth for the screw cap to fit through. And we're just going to match the size here. All right, that looks good to me. I can make it just 50 even. There you have it. And now I'm just going to duplicate them and bring them up to all those templates. Just grab all these, bring them through. Very nice. So I don't need these templates anymore, so I'm going to go ahead and delete them. And again, we wanted to make it sit 4 millimeters in. So I'm going to grab a measuring cube. Okay, and last but not least, we just need to create a hole for the screw to go through. We have a 4.53 millimeter screw in diameter, the neck of it. So I'm just going to make a 5 millimeter hole for it. So let me grab a measuring cube, do 5 millimeters. And then I'm also going to create a cylinder, because that's what we're going to need to let the screw hole go through. And I'm going to make it 100 as always. And let's give it its space that it needs. So I can go 25. Very nice. All right, I could delete the measuring cube, rotate this 90 degrees, and just make it long. Now we just need to bring this to the center for each one, just so the vertex snap doesn't get confused, I'm going to delete those, or hide those rather. And now I feel comfortable vertex snapping it, knowing it's going to go to the center for sure, without, you know, mixing it up for some other vertice that I had nearby. Okay, and then we're just going to grab those, duplicate it, bring it on over to this side. All right, so now that we got all that fixed, we can begin beveling and then booleaning. So we're on home stretch here. I'm going to modify, freeze all these transformations, edit, delete by type history. What's in this group here? Do we need it? We don't need the group, so I'm going to delete the group. I'm just going to go ahead and start cleaning up my scene. So let's see if we can just grab the edges here that we need to boolean so it's softer. All right, so we're almost at the point where we can start the boolean, or we can start the bevel rather. And I'm going to go ahead and bevel it. That's looking great actually. And I like to do 4 segments. All right, that's nice and smooth there. So I'm going to do the same for this. I don't need all of these edge loops. It's kind of extraneous. So likewise, I'm going to grab this. That's looking good. And I realized I forgot to bevel this inner edge here. I'll do it once I'm done here. Very nice. Let's go ahead and bevel that. Once again, I'm just going to raise it up 4. Okay, that's looking great. Do have these already, so we're just going to go ahead and grab these 2 edges here, bevel them. We don't need it that big. I think 1 was good, or 0.1. All right, that is looking real slick, real clean. All right, now we're just going to go ahead and boolean this together. I do want to edit, delete by type history. Let's do a union. So these are combined as one. We're going to delete our history after every boolean because it can cause problems. So that's looking good. And we're going to have to do these in a specific order. So I'm going to make sure all these are connected as one. So we're going to go mesh. It's really cool. You can rip off the menu in this, combine. In case you guys are wondering, I'm going to combine these as well. And these. Combine. Likewise, we're going to do the same for these. Combine, combine. Now that those are all combined, we're going to go ahead and boolean them. So we're just going to do a, let me close that. We're going to do a difference. Perfect. Let me delete the history. I'll do it on this side. Difference. Delete its history. Same with this. Difference. All right, that's looking good. And difference. Very nice. All right, so that's looking really nice. Let me delete the history. And this is going to be our last Boolean function. Difference on that. Okay. We're getting there. Difference. History. Okay, that is looking real sharp. It's ready. Let's triangulate everything. So I'm going to go select, use constraint, next selection, and I'm going to select all the end-sided, which is faces with more than 4 vertices. And it selected all those. I'm going to do mesh, triangulate, close, and reset. Now let me rerun that UV, modify, freeze transformations, edit, delete by type history. We have nothing else, so I'm going to delete these layers and make a clean scene. I'm going to call this Rotary Tool Clamp. There you have it. All right, that's ready to go. I'm going to export this out as an OBJ, and I'll see you in Bambu Studio. All right, guys, now we're here in Bambu Studio. That's an interesting way to print it out, but I don't think I'm going to do it like that. I'm going to rotate it, and I think I like that. But I do want the x-axis going more so than the z. So for that reason, I'm going to rotate this 90 degrees. And I think that's good. I don't need this. And let's see. I have my PETG standard, but I'm going to increase the strength here. I'm going to make 4 wall loops and do a 45% infill. And I think I'm going to do a gyroid because there's going to be a lot of pushing and pulling on here. And that's looking good. Let's slice that up. That's going to take quite a bit of time, but it is what it is. And I'm just going to save that out, and I'll see you guys out in the real world. All right, guys, so I got the G-code loaded up into the card here, and I started the print. I have some Creality PETG that I cracked open. It's like a lighter gray. And we're going to print out that rotary tool clamp, and I'll see you in the next vlog. Thank you guys for joining me. Until next time, peace, love, and joy.